I'm not even just talking about the illegal immigration. I'm talking about both legal and illegal. I think we have put our nation in a position where this is one of the most problematic things going on in our society right now. Like, this is an existential threat to our country.
It's the Reform or Die podcast, where nothing is off limits and everything must be reformed.
All right. Welcome back.
Oh, wow.
Did I do that?
I got preempted this time.
Did I do that
Barry
well,
hasn't
Kyle?
even clipped his mic on yet. Jacob's stealing the show right now. All right. Welcome back.
Yeah.
You
Welcome
really
back,
nailed it.
Jacob. Good morning, Kyle. Good afternoon.
All right. Well, we just did a recording a second ago about this, or about a different topic entirely, but we are back again for 2 in 1 day. Maybe we'll have a week off next week. You never know. We'll just back-to-back episodes here, but we've got Barry with us again. Say hey.
Hey, Kyle.
And we've got Jacob.
Hello.
And your host, your favorite hostess.
Are you really
the mostest?
You're not a hostess.
No, I'm not. You're right. But it's Kyle. Hey, we're all back here again. We have a real spicy episode.
Nah,
It's so spicy I can't even talk. It's making me nervous.
it's not that spicy,
So
bro.
spicy, it's almost like it didn't come from America.
Okay, I see what you did there. Well, and everyone else will catch up a second later. We are talking about immigration, and the reason I say spicy is because this is a hot issue amongst Christians. And I will say, I don't think one you hear much teaching on from the pulpit. Would you agree with that? Not that we absolutely need to, but I wouldn't say I've really ever even heard it mentioned in a sermon.
Yeah, but I mean, it's an Old Testament idea generally. Most of the verses that relate to are going to be Old Testament-ish. So if you're going through a book, it's less common.
There's
to come
general
across.
principles, but yeah, fair
You know
enough.
what I mean?
Fair enough, I guess.
But you're right, it's an important topic that should be.
It's something that Christians disagree on, and so we want to have a level of understanding, but also we do want to speak boldly about this topic because I think it's an important one. I myself am more for limiting immigration to our country at this point in time, and I know. I am in favor of limiting for various reasons that we'll get into. But first, I think it was good if we do a bit of a historical survey. And this is something that you at home can fact check and go reference because I'm not a historian. I know you thought I was, but I'm not a historian, but I would like to give us a two-dimensional sort of overview of some of American history to kind of talk about and put into context what is happening in our country right now. And where have we come from? What does this look like? And then we also want to talk about some scripture verses, some in the Old Testament, some in the New, about what are some godly principles we can put in, we can reference that gives us some direction on the topic of, should we let in millions of people every year into our country that aren't Americans, or should we reduce that to zero, or what does that look like, right? Sound good with you guys?
That sounds
I'm
fantastic.
excited for it.
Okay, great. So, like I said, two-dimensional reading here of American history, but 1776, our founding. We're
That's
going
when we're
all the way
starting?
back. There's about a 100-year period where immigration is fairly limited. I mean, there are people coming in this time. It's let's see, from 1776 to about 1820, 200, 300,000 arrivals, and then to 1876, so 100 years, about 10 million are coming in that time. Just for some rough numbers here. Let's see. You have a question?
Yeah,
over
I
there?
actually, Kyle, one of the things when I was researching, I came across just a quick thing. I came across a quick historical tidbit about immigration before 1776 in the 1600s.
Stop. You're going back before my notes.
Before Kyle's notes, I got a few quick
Nothing
notes.
exists before my notes, Barry.
Was the general immigration ideas were religious based. All the colonies, you had to be part of either Catholic or Christian or congregational denomination. You had to generally make a confession of faith to that creed.
I mean, they cared about place and religion a lot.
Besides like maybe Rhode Island.
Right. Well, so there's
Kyle.
I'm going to highlight some legislation real quick. I promise I won't take too much time with all this for those of you who are already asleep at home. But the Naturalization Act of 1790 established the first uniform rule for citizenship, limiting it to free white persons of good character. So it says, which is 1790. Moving forward, so we talked about the first 100 years, there are about 10 million people that came in. And this includes massive waves of Irish and Germans in the 1840s and 1850s.
Let's go.
Yep.
Irish.
Lots of Irish and Germans.
It's St. Patrick's Day, by the way.
It is.
Very fitting.
That is actually.
Happy St. Patrick's
As a
Day.
proud Irishman myself, yeah, it's
Are you
good to
really
hear.
Irish?
Yeah, I'm Irish.
But not Catholic.
Nope. Protestant.
Wow.
Got some heritage there myself. So, so we represented, I guess. So then after that first 100 years, there's about a segment of about 90 years where things shifted over that time. There's about 30 to 33 million people that came in from, let's see if I do my math here, the 1880s to 1960s. All right. And the Immigration Act of 1917 was a piece of legislation during that time that it said it introduced a literacy test and the Asiatic barred zone, effectively banning nearly all immigrants from Asia. Yes, you over there with the hand up.
I'm curious, teacher.
Yes.
1917. Do you think that had anything to do with World War I?
I wonder if it did. I would imagine absolutely
I
it
wonder
did.
if there was a flood of immigration around that time,
Yeah,
or
right.
what that had to do. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well, and then there's the Johnson-Reed Act of 1924, and it was a quota system for immigration, which is interesting. And restrictions on severely limited Southern and Eastern Europeans, Italians, and Jews, prohibited most Asians. So there was a lot of strict policies around immigration during some of these times. Skipping forward, let's go ahead and just do 1960s onward to the present. This is sort of our more modern day immigration changed. And one of the big reasons why it changed was the Hart-Celler Act. I don't have in my notes the other name. That's kind of the colloquial name for it, based on the representatives, I believe, that put it forward. But the Hart-Celler Act of 1965 abolished the national origins quota system and replaced it with a system that prioritized, I believe, skilled labor or just laborers. And we sort of moved away from sort of the religious nationality system for immigration that we had been previously using. And at this time, I would say there's been the last 60 years. Remember, we did the first 100, second, we did 90, and then this is 60, right? We're on the 250th year anniversary this year. So that adds up to 250. I can do math still.
Yay.
Thank you. I knew someone would clap for me in their heart. So in the last 60 years, things have changed a lot with the Hart-Celler Act, and we changed how we're doing immigration. There's approximately about almost 60 million people that have come in. Let's see, it says 1966 to 2015. There's about 60 million. So depending on how you count it, there's more or less. But largely and interestingly, where people have come from has changed. This is one of the big differences, not just the amount of people, but a lot more people from Latin America and the Caribbean. So it says 51% of those 60 some million. So we had not really let in people from any of those areas to that level. And Asia was a quarter of the people came from Asia. So very different. Europe and Canada only accounted for about 12% of that. So in Africa, about 5%. So you have a lot of population coming from different places, cultures that I think arguably are quite different from European background cultures.
And now you say different. Can we also make an ordinal ranking on the general goodness or
Sure.
level of cultures?
Well, I mean, not all cultures are the same, in my opinion. Some are better or worse,
especially
for various
if
things.
we live in a world that's, saying something like that would rank one culture better than another would be very counter to the modern world. But I think we could do that as Christians. We certainly believe that a Christian culture is better than a non-Christian culture.
Yeah, I guess what I think of as interesting from this is that there's change from where people came from, and I guess the religion factor in this too. there's some of that. But yeah, to your point, some cultures are gonna be more compatible with our current one. I could give you some more stats just because I think it's important for some level of context on this conversation. But in the 1960s, America was, get this, 90% white Christian. Today, it's below 40% white Christian. The country has radically changed in the makeup of who is in this country in the last 60 years, largely due to immigration, right? And if you factor in that people who live here, I think our birth rate is like 1.6 for every family. So we're not at subsistence with the people who are here. So it's just very interesting, right? The demographics of the country have shifted dramatically. We have a lot of different cultures here. I believe we're like the number one most immigrated to place in the world.
Now, I have a theory that one of the other things that changed is the ability to vote. More people are voting now. It's easy. As long as you have any type of citizenship, you can vote, which means that people
don't even need citizenship, potentially.
But
a fun one.
That's a fun conversation.
The people in power who want to use the government to achieve their means by vote want to get as much people here that will vote the same way as them. So maybe part of that is a power play.
I would say that's very likely. I heard a clip recently of Chuck Schumer in the House. He was talking about the SAVE Act, which is a bill that's they're trying to push forward that would, it's an election integrity bill. And his critique of the SAVE Act was that if it passed, it would allow ICE to effectively purge he said tens of billions. I think he meant tens of millions because there's only 8 billion people in the world. So I'm being charitable here. Tens of millions of people from the voting rolls. And if you first of all, I'd say, why is that a bad thing? Right. But I almost think that's like a little bit of a slip, I don't think he really meant to say that because it kind of gives away the game. The Democrats specifically are upset that we could potentially remove tens of millions of people from the voting rolls by requiring more strict voter ID requirements, and those people would be removed from those rolls by ICE, which implies to me they're probably not supposed to be voting.
Can I give you my tinfoil hat on
sure, yeah.
Since we're before we get into some of the scriptures and some other clips we might play, I'll just give the full game away with the tinfoil hat early on in the episode. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right.
Alrighty.
Well, okay, here it goes. Crazy Kyle giving you his tinfoil hat take on immigration. I think there are an elite class in our society. So far, so good, right? Mm-hmm. Politicians, businessmen, wealthy people. It is in their interest, left and right both, to bring in a slave labor class from outside the country. This accomplishes a few things. Cheap labor, right? And, hey, we need to house these people. We need government programs to build housing to give a lot of immigrants get free housing. Mm-hmm. So there's that. In return, what do they get, right? Other than they get cheap labor and they get to, build their own profits and such. Well, politicians will bring in a lot of illegal immigrants into their state to balloon the numbers in their state so that they get more representatives, right? So if California has 5 million more people than it should because there's 5 million illegal immigrants there, they get more representation and power in Congress. So not only that, but now we hand out driver's licenses, and they've been discovering that illegal immigrants have been getting social security numbers, which allows you voting as well. So they're getting driver's licenses, which you get signed up when you get a driver's license, right? When you go to the DMV now, they're basically they push you right into having a registration to vote.
Yeah. The fact that you can vote basically someone else's money to yourself. Like people can come into the country, you don't have anything. If you vote the right way, you can get money from somebody else. It's absurd. It's an absurd system, and the people in power, people who want power are going to want that, and then the people who come here and they say, oh, well, if I get in power, I can get the same thing if I just get people to vote for me. It encourages negative behavior.
Yeah.
This idea that you can vote away money from redistribute wealth or use the government for your own gains is a negative system in itself.
Yeah, and right, exactly. But to complete the tinfoil hat experience, really what's happening is it's the middle class against the elites and the slave labor class, essentially. Yeah. So the middle class is the people who are educated, who know what's going on in society, and haven't been taken in by the state media propaganda, which some in the middle class have been taken in by the state media propaganda. But, if we're wise to it, we're going to try and outvote this problem. But the problem is, going back to what you talked about with the SAVE Act, Jacob, we're trying to make sure the vote is actually good. I mean, there's below a 20% approval rating for Congress. I mean, they won't pass legislation that's got like almost 90% approval from the people.
How is it that someone like you, who contributes thousands and thousands of dollars in taxes to somebody else who only takes from the government, maybe for their own reason, how do you guys have the equal say? I mean, I don't think that makes sense to me.
I think it was like if people who paid were actually net taxpayers and not just taking money from the government, if only they voted, it was like the country's almost entirely red, like would vote Republican, which is interesting. I don't know, just something to think about. But
on the real quick on the topic, you kind of said bringing in a slave class, which sounds kind of it's like
it's a little
shocking.
provocative.
It's
I don't
provocative.
mean it like in the harshest sense of that, but
I mean it's kind of true.
Bit. Yeah. Well, they underpay, right?
Yeah. So just some things that tend to happen when you have immigration that happens off the books. It's not going through the correct channels. You have a human trafficking industry, which is bad. It's funding the cartels, which is poisoning our society with drugs. What was it? Is it like, I don't remember what the exact statistic is, but like most of the women who are trafficked and young girls who are trafficked across the border are sexually abused.
It's like at least 1 in 3, they say.
Yeah.
Which is, let's not gloss over how crazy that is, that there are so many people being abused.
Yeah. And I would argue if you care about humans and you really do feel sympathy for these people in their state, their condition, you wouldn't encourage them to go through these channels to get into this country. I think that is evil to encourage that, because you are basically telling them, submit yourself to all this torture and this pain and this evil system so that you can come here breaking the law. I think that's really bad. But then when these people get here, a lot of them will get kind of trapped in these jobs where they are basically told they have to work here to pay off their debt to the cartel, or they'll be trapped and they'll say, hey, if you don't work for us, we're going to call ICE on you and we'll have you deported. And I'm thinking back to a discussion I had. It was probably Christmas or Thanksgiving, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I was talking to a liberal family member who will remain nameless. And she was very upset about Trump's policies on immigration, which I am too, but for different reasons. But she was very upset about Trump's policies on immigration. And she came up with this very, heartfelt story about it. She said, where I'm from, we have these big mushroom farms, and it's just these disgusting barns. You can smell them from miles away. They're out in the middle of nowhere. And the only people that will do that job is these Mexican immigrants. And if we don't have them, then who's going to grow the mushrooms? How are you going to eat your salad and have the little mushrooms on it? And if you just take one step back out of your self-centeredness and stop thinking about how much you love eating mushrooms, you'll think to yourself, man, why are we subjecting people to those kinds of work conditions? That the only way you can actually get someone to do that job is if they are basically doing everything they can to try and hide from the authorities and stay where they're at. And they're willing to accept below minimum wage. They're willing to endure these horrible conditions just so they can produce a food product, which I don't even like. I'm sorry, guys, I don't like mushrooms. But-
Shame. I'm kidding.
but-
I don't know.
To say, to feel that way and say that that's like the loving and compassionate position, like I'm so compassionate that I really want you to come to this country and be mistreated and work in horrible conditions that no, native white American person would ever do. No one would ever do that job.
They would if they got paid enough. They got paid the right amount.
Yeah, but not if they're getting paid like $3-4
So
an hour.
maybe that means that mushrooms are not being priced accordingly.
Maybe,
Well,
yeah.
here's really part of the other part of the story is that in 1970, again, I'm the stats guy this episode, so forgive me. 6% of immigrant households were on welfare. In today, that's 61% are on welfare. You can check the stats, not 100% sure, but there's a lot of people today. And you can see some of this with, I think what we talked about with Somalians in Minnesota, that they have all these daycares built up around all these NGOs, that, nonprofits, 501c3s that are, or is it 401c3s? Did I say it wrong? 501c3s
5-1.
that are basically just taking taxpayer funds, and they're not even actually, they don't even actually do the things that they're saying. They have no kids at these, daycares. They're just taking money from the government. I think they said it was like 15 billion or some crazy number out of Minnesota alone.
What's good about this? The good thing about immigrants coming and using up all the welfare, I'm serious. The good thing about immigrants coming, anyone who chooses to come somewhere just to use other people, one, they're gonna just dry up the welfare state, or they're gonna increase it to such an extent that one, the welfare will go broke, or secondary, we're gonna have to wake up because it's gonna become so absurd. If enough people take advantage of a system, it's going to either.
I think, part of that issue is that,
Voters will wake up.
we had the Doge team, whether you like them or not, in there that were trying to expose a lot of fraud, and they basically got run out by Republicans and Democrats, did they not?
But the voters are going to wake up as we attract more and more people who don't have Protestant work ethic, who don't have this idea of working hard to make a living, and who just want to use or don't have these things. It's going to collapse. And then the hardworking people are going to revolt. They're not going to want to keep doing it at a certain point. They're going to realize.
I think you might be underestimating the extent of suicidal empathy.
At a certain point, it's going to hit the working class bottom line. Where
To Jacob's point, people are being told, especially in churches, that we need to have a level of compassion to immigrants. And we do need to have a level of compassion, but we don't need to let them break our laws, right? You don't love people by lying to them or by letting them abuse systems, right? That's not a loving position to take. It's hard, but yeah.
I think the biblical model, the Old Testament model of immigration and citizenship is one that we in America should take. So I think if churches agreed with that if we took the model of Old Testament Israel as given to us in the Pentateuch, of citizenship, sanctuary cityness, all of these ideas, not specific things. If we took those ideas and modeled our own ideas of citizenship, then that would be a positive thing, and that we would be doing the right thing.
So let's get to some of these verses. And if you guys have any pulled up, that'd be great. One of them I wanted to sort of intro in with was that back on February 25th of this year, someone that I personally have a lot of respect for, and have said that on the podcast before, but have been critical of, is John Piper, Pastor John Piper up in Minnesota, I believe. He said he tweeted Leviticus 19:34, which says, "You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you are strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." Leviticus 19:34. And then at the end he said, "Christians know the miserable bondage we were all in." And he tweeted this, kind of at the height of a lot of the ICE raids, and people were very upset about a lot of that happening in Minnesota. This was right after all the Somalian daycare fraud was discovered, and then all of a sudden immigration and ICE became this monster issue. And I just think it's very interesting that John Piper would tweet this with so little context during this time, and then he just disappeared. He didn't, people asked him for clarification. Hey, Are you supporting, open borders? Are you, it really sounds like you're taking a very left-leaning Democrat position on this. And to my knowledge, he's never really replied to any of that. He just kind of dropped a Bible verse like a bomb and walked away, which is really a shame. I mean, we need better from, and this is a guy I respect and love, that I look up to. That's one of my spiritual heroes, but we need better from our pastors. We need more shepherding,
Yeah, it almost feels like a very chaotic thing to do. It feels like just dropping that, very little context.
Knowing that it was part of his Bible reading plan, he was coming through Leviticus, but he also consciously picked the verse to post.
He picked the verse. He put the little
and just commentary
on it,
and
clarifying what he meant by that.
And find me the tweets where he's criticized illegal immigration, or find me the places where he was saying he's condemning the Somalian daycares. And
no, I actually
that's what I want to know.
I actually think, though, that to some extent Piper's right, that immigration is something the Bible tells us to do. But the problem is our current government is a government that legalizes governmental plunder, basically, from the
Yes, and that's part of the issue. It's the plundering of the country.
If we didn't have a government if we had a government that, had the freedom of society, that didn't have this stealing from the rich to give to the immigrants, or this idea, then it wouldn't matter. Immigrants would be a positive thing, just like the Bible says.
So, I mean, Milton Friedman, the economist, once basically made the comment that you can't have a welfare state and unlimited immigration. Like, you're basically a piggy bank for the world at that point. You're an open bank. People are coming in to take your stuff.
But why would the people in power not want that? Because that gives them more votes. That gives them more power. The more money they steal from the rich and distribute to those people gives them more votes.
Well, it gives them more votes and
more power.
And it's, a way of scratching people's back because, like the nation building we did in the Middle East, so to speak, they've built a lot of buildings out there. There were a lot of contracts that were given for various things that a lot of them weren't even completed, to my knowledge. They just started them and said, "Well, we'll take the money, thanks."
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that, Jacob?
No,
you're our Middle East expert. So
I'm definitely not that. However, you're not wrong at all. And I don't want to speak ill of the recently departed, but yeah, Mr. Dick Cheney was very much enriched by the wars in the Middle East through Halliburton. And I think that is common. I think if you pull the thread on these things enough, it always goes back to money and power.
Yes, and I will, because I want to get to some more of the scriptures here. I'll do one, and if you guys have other ones, you can chime in as well. But I wanted to bring up, because a lot of times when you're on the less immigration side of the debate, you get criticized for not being loving, right? You're not compassionate. That's the main critique, is you don't have a heart, right? We're the people that don't have a heart in this. And so I wanted to kind of push back on some of the anticipated, we don't have any extreme lefties here to debate with us, but Barry's going to pretend, but we're all somewhat right-leaning on this, so you know where we're coming from. But Galatians 6:10 says, "So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith." So that's one passage. And there's another one that talks, and I can't put my finger on where it is. Maybe one of you guys can look it up. But talking about if you don't provide for your own household, you're as good as an unbeliever. Do you guys remember? Is that one of the Thessalonians? Can you guys look that up for me? We'll just do a little pause here, and we'll look some of these up because I want to make sure we get it.
Are you looking it up, Barry?
1 Timothy 5:8.
Okay, can you read that?
"If anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied his faith and is worse than an unbeliever."
Yeah, so to me, that is a really important passage in this debate, because we are often criticized for not having heart, when really what it comes down to for me is an issue of, your family. It goes your family, your community, your church, your city, your state, your country, and then beyond your country, right? That's the circles of care and concern. You're supposed to care for the people who are closest to you. If you fed your neighbor's kids and not your own kids, that would be horrible according to the Bible.
Yeah.
That's just horrible. Well, we have, people who are really struggling, like in our own country.
Right before that, it talks about how It's talking about taking care of widows. And it even says the widow who lives for pleasure is dead while she lives. It's basically telling you to take care of the widows who are in need, to take care of the people who are in need, not necessarily the people who just want anything. You just want to do whatever they want to do. It's based on the people who are needful.
Now, for me, if there are Christians who are going through persecution and trying to flee their country, I am open to the idea of them coming here because we want to take care of believers who are struggling. There is some of that. On the other hand, a lot of times when you're asking for asylum, you're supposed to go to the first available country next to where you are coming from to seek asylum.
I have an idea. Why is the government the one who's providing all of those? It should be charities. I mean, if we as a church say, hey, there's a really good cause, let's put these people up for a period of time. It should be the churches that are involved in saving these people and helping them. Involuntary giving, not forced taxation by the government. I think that's also a problem, is that it's forced taking care of these people.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And what Kyle was saying kind of about, I don't think immigration is bad. I would say I am pro-immigration, broadly speaking, with a very big but.
I was going to say, whoa,
very,
shocker.
very large. However, the way our current system is set up, I don't think it's very feasible. And with the situation that we've got ourselves into with the unfettered immigration and the illegal immigration as well. I'm not even just talking about the illegal immigration. I'm talking about both legal and illegal. I think we have put our nation in a position where this is one of the most problematic things going on in our society right now. Like, this is an existential threat to our country, to our way of life, to our society. And fundamentally, biblically speaking, I don't have a problem with immigration. Like you were saying earlier, the Old Testament model. But the big thing that's missing between our modern day model of immigration and the Old Testament model is the assimilation piece. In the Old Testament, there was an expectation of assimilation. If you're going to be in this society, if you're going to be in this culture, in this community, you have to be in it. You can't just be around it, but have your own thing going on. You can't just have a totally different existence that's like culturally on the opposite end of the spectrum. You can't keep that, right? There's elements of culture that are fine, right? I'm fine with people having accents or having their food that they like. That's not really a problem. The problem is when there are cultural norms in other societies that are subversive to ours. And I think what we've seen a lot is this mass immigration over the past years has led to our cultural norms shifting in some places. Like you look at Dearborn, Michigan, where they have call to prayer and the police cars have Arabic on them. And
I don't ever want to hear a call to prayer in Kansas City. I don't.
That, to me, that is subversive. That is more, that's more like an invasion.
If we're going to say that, then we need a creed to some extent. We need to have something that we stand for. And if there's not any, there has to be some assimilation.
So let me comment on that. I mean, our unofficial motto for many, many years in the country before it became "In God We Trust" was "E pluribus unum," out of many, one. We did not for many, many years, really until the 1960s is when it started to change, right? As I highlighted at the beginning. But we lived in a single culture country. We did not have a multicultural society.
I think
we do have a multicultural society now. And although they will tell you and scream from the rooftops that diversity is our strength, we're finding that society has been more divided than it ever has been.
Yeah, multiculturalism and the whole diversity is our strength thing those are subversive ideologies that have been artificially pushed on people.
Correct.
And they play to that empathetic bone that people have. And it's not by accident. It kind of goes back to the whole, like, this is an intentional thing. I don't think a country gets this bad just accidentally, unintentionally. You have to. It's more than just forsaking your duties of protecting your national borders. It is an intentional thing.
Great nations are not destroyed often by the outside, it's from within. And if you just look at some of those stats I mentioned about how America has become so non-Christian and multicultural in the last 60 years, we're losing our strength.
It's not multicultural necessarily, because if you think about it, all the different types of culture groups before mass media like kind of made everything one kind of culture, America was made up of hundreds of different little subcultures. Like think of Texas versus the South or New England. But what tied them all together, there were certain things that tied all of Americans together, even with all these broad ideas of culture.
I was going to say, so the idea of the melting pot is really what we are ideally as a society. Everybody comes in as different peoples, but we melt together and we unify around common values. When I say multiculturalism, that's multi-value society. And I actually want to play a clip I didn't share with you guys during the week, but this is a Charlie Kirk clip about, and I think it'll get to the safety concerns of immigration. And we should talk about, I think there were 4 attacks in March, in the first couple weeks of March, all by naturalized, I believe, Muslim, either citizens or naturalized citizens. If they're not all citizens, I could be wrong about that, but
yeah, I can pull that up.
yeah,
real
Jacob
quick.
is my fact checker. But let's play this clip real quick from Charlie Kirk about Islam in general. And this is actually really important. There's a couple clips I really want to play. Let me see if I can line up there was one from Mamdani in New York, who is Muslim. Actually, I want to play that one first. Let me go to that one first because this was really crucial. He talks about how the Muslim faith, Islam, thrives on immigration, which at one point there were 0 Muslim countries. I believe there's 57 Muslim countries in the world now. So if you want to think about how the Islam is spreading, there were 20 years ago in Europe, there were 50, I believe it was 500,000 Muslims in Europe. Now there's 50 million. If you think about that, I mean, the reason that Europe was not converted to the Islamic faith was that the Crusades, they fought back against the Muslim aggression. Right?
And Charles Martel in the Battle of Tours.
Thank you, Barry, our historian.
632. When Charles Martel, the Hammer, stopped them when they were coming up through Spain, he stopped them and stopped the Muslims there. But yes, then the Crusades were great.
So it's just funny that we haven't looked back upon history to
700 years
to
later.
see, like, hey, maybe letting a lot of Muslims into your country is not a good idea. And I'm going to play Mamdani first and then Charlie Kirk second, because I think this will be just helpful for people to hear what they actually say.
I think of the freedom from suffering that Buddhism teaches us is only possible if we remove the 3 poisons of desire, hatred, and ignorance from our daily lives. We need not accept suffering as unchangeable. We need not treat hatred as the natural state. We have the power to set ourselves free. And I consider my own faith, Islam, a religion built upon a narrative of migration. The story of the Hijrah reminds us that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a stranger too, who fled Mecca and was welcomed in Medina. Surah An-Nahl 1642 tells us, as for those who immigrated in the cause of Allah after being persecuted, we will surely bless them with a good home in this world. Or as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange. So glad tidings to the strangers. If faith...
We can cut it there, but he's basically saying, open your country, let us all in. The faith of Islam has been built on migration. Very interesting. And if you guys have a comment before I go to
The faith of Islam was built on migration? What, migrating all the way through, destroying, capturing hundreds of countries? That's absurd. I mean, the Ottoman conquests are, one, that's the Ottoman Empire, but the Muslim early conquests are not debated. They're a warrior. They're warriors.
And people might, listening to this...
Not immigrators.
Right. And people listening to this might be like, Kyle, you're blowing this out of proportion. This is not that big of an issue. My understanding is that there's 2 mosques built every month in Texas. 2 months, just so you're aware. The call to prayer is happening in Dearborn, Michigan. They're bowing in the streets to Allah in New York City. I mean, I lived there for a while. We had a couple planes hit some very important buildings in New York not very long ago, and I saw signs that said "Never forget." And here we are.
And now
we have a Muslim mayor.
They either want to or already did put a mosque in the World Trade Center, the new World Trade Center.
All right, so what's the answer to this? It's not just deport everyone who's a Muslim. It's not destroy all the mosques and burn all the Qurans.
Why not, Barry? No, I'm serious. If someone came and put 20 water bottles in your fridge and said all of them are fine except one of them has poison, you can't tell which one by looking at them.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe the way to fight other wrong, incorrect religions is through destruction.
Barry, okay. Well, this is perfect. This is a great segue because we are having a good Christian-friendly debate here. So let me go ahead and just try to trump Barry really fast by playing Charlie Kirk, who we all love and adore. Rest in peace, Charlie. We miss you. This is Charlie on Islam.
The question is macro Islam compatible with Western values? Macro. Of course it's not. There are 3 major reasons why. Islam does not believe in freedom of speech. Islam does not believe in freedom of religion, and Islam does not believe in separation of mosque and state. Those 3 things are antithetical to the West. In a Muslim majority country, most Muslim majority countries, you cannot criticize the Prophet Muhammad. In most Muslim majority countries, you do not have the same robust freedom of religion protections. And finally, whereas we in the West are very careful to try to intermix religion and state, they are commanded to actually go into the state and try to change the state to be more Islamic around the core pillars of Islam. And the last thing I'll finally say is I cannot see a single Western country that has become more Islamic and has become a better place to live that is happier or freer.
By what metric? Just happiness, quality?
Everything from quality of life, from cultural cohesion, from whether people want to live there, prior to the native-born fertility rates.
Again, people watching this will say is your criticism of the religion itself or not Muslim people? Because there are British Muslims who have been born
here. You don't have
to
caveat it all the time. I know you guys have to because you're British and all that. A culture ceases to exist when we don't have unified language. When you cannot talk to your neighbor. I'm not discounting that there are good individual Muslims. The question that we need to reckon with the West is Mohammedism compatible with the teachings of Blackstone? Is it compatible with the legacy of Wilberforce?
All right.
And the great thinkers that have come from this country? And I will say, no, there's a reason why when you go to these Islamic countries that you're not going to see the equal protection of rights, that you do not believe in universal human equality, that you do not believe the same things that we believe in the West. And I think it's suicidal to import millions of them.
Yeah, and you know what, just on a passing point on that, it's most of the time, as far as I'm concerned, it's not even multicultural. Because there was an example there was a school a few months ago during Easter which cancelled Easter celebrations out of respect for other faiths. So it's not as if the word multicultural and multi-diverse doesn't include Christianity.
No, and again, this is the red-green axis, and Britain is at the forefront of this. You have the Marxists that have infiltrated your government and the Islamists that are coming to your country. And when they combine together, they both agree on one thing. They have huge disagreements on a lot. They hate the West, and they want to see it broken.
Okay, we're finished.
I need to confess.
Did Charlie change your mind?
In high school, I was a sophomore in high school, and in one of my classes, I decided to draw a little man, a little stick figure.
Barry, I would stop what you're saying right now.
I put a little name next to the man and called the man. He had a little bubble, and he says, "I am Mohammed." And my teacher found out, and I was suspended for 3 days.
Yeah.
For drawing a stick figure that said, "I am Mohammed."
That's a pretty big confession, Barry. Thank you for that.
That is. And you do know that people have done that same thing and had their heads cut off for it, right? In England and France, maybe? Where was it? They've
all over.
Yeah.
So
in years ago,
yeah,
non-Muslim countries,
the reason I did
people
it
are killed for that.
Yeah, the reason I did it was because I believe in the freedom of speech.
Yeah.
It was because I wasn't being disrespectful. All I did was draw a picture, a little stick man.
So do you think it's good to bring in a people group that has a culture that is not willing to assimilate, that has a culture
Certainly
where it
not.
is culturally okay to execute people who criticize your prophet.
But the problem is, especially not in a place where we vote for, in this sense, where every vote leads to certain values. What we need to have is a level of values that we agree on. And anyone who admits and conforms to those values can join our citizenship.
I don't think
that doesn't
I don't think that a Muslim will admit and conform to those values.
No, but that maybe they can sojourn without paying without getting any of the rights of citizenship.
But what does it mean to sojourn?
To be here for a little bit, but if they want the right to vote, if they want the right to welfare, if they want the right to many things, public education, these are things that you need to agree to these
Why
values.
are they coming here?
Because we give them.
So when you say sojourn, are you meaning like coming here on vacation?
I'm saying there's a difference between people who get the rights of citizenship and the right to vote versus, and I think that's where the guardrails need to be. Citizenship, the right to vote, but we should still show love to everyone, even if they're Muslim. We shouldn't try to kill them because they're Muslim.
No, I'm not.
Fight them.
I'm not saying that. But even if they don't have the right to vote and they're not citizens, they still have the ability to cut your head off for drawing a stick figure of Muhammad.
Yeah, and if they
That's
do
the
that,
thing.
then I'm a prophet, and then I'm a martyr.
You're a martyr. Yeah, no, I agree with what Charlie said there. Like,
I agree
if
with
you
Charlie too
look,
there.
if you look at these, like all of these, broadly white European Christian societies, England, even Canada. I don't know if you really could really call Canada.
There's some
Christian,
French, some, yeah.
Or if you look at France, if you look at Germany,
But we could have this argument.
if you look at how Islam has affected those countries, we're a few years behind those countries, right?
I think we have like 5 million people that are Muslim here.
Yeah, and that's not to say there's not
be wrong on
a
that.
huge swath of very westernized, like moderate Muslims, but some Muslims want to kill those Muslims too, and they do kill each other all the time in the Middle East. That's very common. There's wars fought between the Sunni and the Shia, but those countries over there that are a few years ahead of us with the Islamification of the culture, they are, I would say, within 2 to 3 years, we're probably going to see a major European country completely exile Muslims from their society.
I mean, London is like becoming almost a majority, isn't it? It's like 20% or more. I don't know the actual stat for London. But it's huge percent.
I just know that either the world is going to become Muslim, or, which I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that will happen, because I believe Christ is king and that he is going to reign over every nation, right? But either the world will become Muslim, or countries are going to start doing something about this. Because honestly, the best situation is that countries just, maybe they were like Poland, and they're just kind of picky with who they let in. Poland is a Christian nation. I think they're Catholic, but they're a Christian nation. They have declared Jesus Christ as the King of Poland, right?
Poland's very Christian.
Yeah, and they have very strict immigration, and they do not. They don't take too kindly to Islam, and Poland does not have the same issues as these other countries. And so ideally, we would be in that boat, but we're not in that boat. We are downstream. We've kind of opened up the box, and we kind of have to deal with what's in it. And I think it will take something radical for us at this point, sadly. That's not saying that we need to, like you were saying earlier, I'm not saying we need to go kill everybody who doesn't think like us. But I would prefer to not have to get to that point, because there is a world, this has happened in other countries, there is a world where you kind of have to kill people or you will be killed.
Do you think then that in America, right, there should not be allowed to be a mosque?
I think all mosques should be destroyed. Yes.
I don't know that. I believe that we are a Christian nation. That is how we were founded. I don't believe that we should have mosques here.
So that if you're Muslim, you just should go somewhere else?
Well, here's the awkward conversation, right? Is that not everyone who is a quote citizen, like on paper, is really truly allied to this country. I mean, you'll see people on the news raising flags to foreign nations,
Or in their churches?
protesting,
Yep.
or in their churches. I
Lots
mean,
of
these
foreign
people are
nations.
not what I would describe as people who are committed to the success of this country.
No,
Are they? Would you
They're
guys say
not.
they're
No,
they're wanting the best of the country?
Other countries are more significant,
And
Kyle.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like part of me is saying, okay, like I understand the desire to be compassionate and kind but on the other hand, on the books, their religion calls for a jihad and a takeover. I mean, that's not we're not dealing. I think people don't understand because their compassion gets in the way of a little bit of reason. And when you see the spread of Islam it's not been a good net good for society.
Yeah.
And
I would
you're just
say,
welcoming that in.
And that comment about jihad, I feel like a lot of Muslims will kind of deny the violent aspects of the Quran, but I mean, I've read some of it. Now they will say I have not read the Quran because I didn't read it in the original language, but I've read the English translation, and I can kind of paraphrase it. But in the 9th surah of the Quran, it basically tells you to convert the polytheist, which they view us as polytheists because we believe in the Trinity. Therefore, we are polytheists under their definition. It says the Jews as well, Jews and the polytheists. You need to convert them. If they won't convert and pay, they have like a fine or like a alms system where if you convert and pay, then you will be basically spared. But if they don't convert, that you should kill them. You should wherever you find them, kill the polytheist. And that is in their holy book, right? That would be equivalent to there being a passage in the New Testament where Jesus just says, go out and kill anybody who does not follow me. Like slay them with the sword. If they will not repent and believe in Christ, slay them. Which Jesus doesn't say that.
I can see the spinning wheel over Barry's head right now. Barry, I'm going to make it even worse for you because I don't believe the Heritage Foundation is roughly a right-leaning think tank. And in this last week or so, I think March 12th, they released a tweet saying, we have a legal immigration problem, not an illegal. They said we have a legal immigration problem.
I agree with that too, but I don't think it's I think it's the government is the problem. I think this governmental system that we have allowed a government of plunder to reign, that it's steal by vote.
We have a runaway government. The government is not accountable to the people.
I would say that anyone who wants to serve in government should certainly have to be a member of a church, of a believing church, and I would say that. But I would say that there's still a place for Muslims to live in our society, maybe not to run our society, but to live in it and to be contributing members in different ways. I would say that I could see that. But to run our society, no, I would say you have to swear on the Bible.
But this is what we're experiencing now, like with Zohran Mamdani. That's just kind of like downstream of.
Oh yeah, that shouldn't happen.
That's downstream of letting in other cultures in the first place.
I disagree with. I think it's a weakness of our multi-value government that doesn't hold to that doesn't have any values.
Barry, if you let in tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands, millions of immigrants
them into our beliefs,
but they're not going to assimilate.
They have to.
What if they won't?
If they want to be part of our citizenship,
What if they will not
over it,
assimilate?
if they want to be part of our country, if they want to believe in our values and partake in these things, then yeah, assimilate into our values. If you want to participate in the government, if you want to partake of welfare, if you want to,
but when they come in and they cluster up, which is usually what groups will do when they immigrate from a certain place, they'll find their people group because people naturally want to be around their people. And that might sound racist. I don't know.
Chinatown.
People want to be around their people. Yeah, Chinatown. That's totally fine. But people want to be around their people. And when these groups of Muslims, kind of congregate in one area, you get Dearborn, Michigan, and then it changes. Like you get Zohran Mamdani where they elect.
You wouldn't be able to elect a Muslim because they would have to be a member of a church.
Says who?
Or they would have to swear on the Bible. I mean, that's the right now.
I don't think Mamdani's swearing on a Bible.
Well, you should. That's what I'm saying. That's the problem, is that we don't have a system of values in our government.
But Barry, if the populace has been totally converted, if the populace is mostly Muslim,
sure, if the population can change the values of the government,
then who is going to go in and say, no, you can't elect a Muslim?
If the population changes the values of the government, then we're in a faulty system.
Do you think that the federal government should have the ability to dictate how a state government runs their elections?
I think that to some extent, just like we would all agree, there's some level of that where there's not illegal immigrants or anything. You know, there's certain levels where there should be allowances there.
So let me sort of take a little bit of a higher level theoretical question here. So this is one I find interesting. I think I got this from Timcast, the show, YouTube show. But they were giving the theoretical of this. So I'll put it to Barry first, and then Jacob can correct Barry because he's obviously going to be in error. Let's say you had, let's put it at 250,000 Dutch Christians that were going to come to America illegally, or you had the option of taking in 2 million legal Indian immigrants. What would you choose between those two?
Our system right now, our governmental system is the problem, not immigration. So it's not assimilating people correctly. Legality is meaningless because assimilation should be a high.
Let me give you another one.
Let
me give you a different one. Let's say that 10 million Russians moved to Japan, and Japan became largely Russian in the future. Their Japanese culture dried up and was gone. And Japanese people moved elsewhere, or they spread out.
But we're in agreement that the problem
is... Would you say that's not good? Like, Japan should be preserved as Japanese. Do you feel that?
The problem that I don't think it's about skin color or race. I think it's about ideals, values, specifically the Christian Protestant values and ideals. If anyone comes and they accept those to a deep level, they prove it over a long period of time, years, maybe even a generation, you get citizenship the second generation, then yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who you are if you're assimilating into these values. Assuming that obviously we can sustain that.
Well,
assuming
it's
that
a cultural
not going to
argument. It's a cultural argument.
Do you think
culture surpasses skin color, just like the gospel went to everyone, not just to Israel?
We're not necessarily talking about skin color.
Or race. It's ideals is what I'm talking. What I think is the thing is an ideal, specifically of religion, specifically Protestant Christianity.
Well, okay, Jacob, you have a comment, and then I'll tell us, like, part of the reason why I like our name for our show is Reform or Die. There was a ton of Protestant influence in the founding of our country, an absolute ton.
Presbyterian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so 13 colonies of those, like, most of them were deeply reformed.
Did you know British called it the Presbyterian Revolution?
Yeah, the Presbyterian Revolt. Yeah.
Say it again?
I mean, the Presbyterian Revolt is what the British called the Revolutionary War.
Our country was basically a reformed Protestant experiment.
Yeah.
If you think about that, that's truly amazing. I just wanted to give, since I'm stats guy today, I wanted to give a couple quick stats before. Well, Jacob, do you want to go first? You go first.
Well, yeah, I just had a verse that was kind of applicable to what Barry was saying, but it's Acts 17:26. And he made from one man every nation of mankind to live on all the face of the earth, having determined their appointed times and the boundaries of their habitation. I think God, based on this, I'm not just saying I think it because I'm, pretending to know God, but God clearly throughout the Bible differentiates between different nations, different cultures, right? They are different. It's not racist, and it's not bad to acknowledge difference in culture and different national identities. There's even nations that God forbid the Israelis from letting into their nation. I don't remember what the exact reference is on that.
All the ites.
Yeah,
right.
they weren't allowed.
They could after 5 to 10 generations. They could assimilate.
But why 5 to 10 generations?
Probably because there was a giant difference in between.
So to me, that indicates it's really important that we have a cultural homogeny. Like,
yes.
the cultures have to be able to, I wouldn't even say mix or live harmoniously together. The person who is coming in has to abide by the rules. It's like if I come into somebody's house and they're a no shoes house, right? You've all been to a no shoes house. I have to take my shoes off. I'm not going to say, well, in my house, my culture is I wear my shoes the whole time. I wear them in bed. I agree with you. I'm not going to go into their bathroom and flip their toilet paper roll around because in my house, I have my toilet paper roll going the other direction. No, it's because I'm in their house and I have to respect that. And if I'm going to live in their house, not just visit, like I have to obey the culture just visiting. If I'm going to live in their house, I have to basically change the way I live. Like it has to be a fundamental change.
And this is why I asked the question of the hypothetical about the 250,000 illegal Dutch Christians moving here versus, 2 million legal Indians, moving here. I would pick the Dutch, not because I hate Indian people at all. I love a lot of Indian people. I know Jacob's giving me some side eye.
Whoa.
No, but I would pick that based on cultural and spiritual similarity to our country. I mean, we need a Christian nation here. Like our founders set this nation up as a Christian nation. People will say that's not true. They don't understand some of the founding, really, truly. I mean,
people ignore history.
I mean, the Congregationalists, the Presbyterians, and Dutch German Reformed were a monster like powerhouse in the early days of the founding of the country. 55 of 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Bible-believing Christians.
But Kyle, the founders were deists, mostly deists.
Yeah, maybe Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas
perhaps.
Jefferson was a deist, Kyle.
Yeah.
But the culture.
Therefore, we were not a Christian nation.
I mean, the Declaration, the last paragraph, I believe this is stolen from Charlie Kirk saying this, but it reads as a prayer. The whole Declaration really reads as a prayer, but the last paragraph says to the supreme judge, basically the universe. Like it's appealing to Jesus Christ too. That's referred to in Revelation as the judge. So we have a Christian form of government. Who was it that said, this is a form of government that's wholly inadequate to anyone to a non-religious people. Like you need a religious citizenry, and they meant Christian.
A lot of the very inclusive language that we think of when we think of like American identity, a lot of that stuff it came a lot later and it was added. And when some people think of religious freedom, they think it means freedom to practice whatever religion you want. But what it really meant was freedom to practice Christianity.
I'll give you, since we're probably kind of getting into sort of one-off arguments here at this point a little bit, but I'll give you another argument for a non-multicultural society. So in America, you're supposed to be entitled to a jury of your peers, right? When you go to trial, you're supposed to be in front of a jury of your peers. That's who's supposed to try your case. In a multicultural society, that isn't really a possibility. Let's say that in Kansas City became 60% Islamic. Do you have confidence that when you go to a trial that you're going to have a fair trial in front of 60% Islamic people in the jury? Like that's what the part of the argument is. And they've done studies on jurors by race and who they let off and who they convict and the rates that they do that. And if you want a fair trial, I'm just saying this, a lot of the stats bear this out. Like just a white jury is a good way to go. It's not because they're just amazing, but it's because you get similar rates of convictions or whatnot.
Would you rather be around a bunch of white liberal women or conservative black Christian men as your jury? We both know.
See, well, now you're getting it. No, with that question,
idea.
You're getting it with that question because we're talking about two things. We're talking about culture and religion. And religion is probably the most important thing to me. I would say we want to have a Christian country. If we have a Christian country, we can all appeal to the same set of values and truth together.
All right, Kyle, so I'm agreeing with you there that USA should be Christian.
Why are you being so cantankerous here, Barry? I'm curious.
What'd you say?
I'm just messing. Keep going.
USA should be Protestant Christian. If you want to serve in the government, 100% you have to be Protestant Christian, member of a church, pastor recognition.
You had to at the founding to be in government. You had to sign a declaration of faith.
But what I'm saying is that there should be maybe some level of leniency there should be different levels. To some extent, if you want to be like, we clearly represent Protestant Christianity as the top form, highest value, but give some level of people allowing to believe other things in different areas. Maybe not serving, but they can still live in our society. Maybe they can't, maybe they don't vote. Maybe there's something else, or I don't know, but there's a different level.
Do you think people want to live like that? Do you think people want to live in a society where they're not allowed to exercise their religion freely, be in leadership?
But they can
affect the
exercise their
culture?
religion freely. But they
The problem with a lot of religions,
exercise.
including I'm not going to say it's a problem with Christianity because I believe Christianity is true and good. But the problem with a lot of religions is that they want to expand. They want to grow. They want to affect culture. I think it's fundamentally impossible to have Islam in this country without allowing them to affect our culture.
I think as long as we have a clear hierarchy of values where we say Protestant Christianity is the best and we believe that as a culture.
I don't think a Muslim would come here then voluntarily.
then that's the answer. Then they can choose to come here if they want to come here
Unless
and say,
they wanted to conquer.
well, we're not allowing that because we don't allow you.
I mean, we didn't allow it at the founding, but look where we are now.
It was relativism. It was a lack of more. Yeah, I think the big thing was the transfer of welfare state from the churches to the government. The transfer of integration into a society being the churches to the public school system, which is funded by the government. Yeah. I mean, that's the new assimilation. It was the public school system that assimilated you in. The government assimilated you in until recently. It's the lack of assimilation to a Christian world.
Yeah, and I broadly agree with that. And that's why I said earlier, I am pro-immigration fundamentally, right? A fundamental level. I'm pro-immigration as long as there is assimilation. I know some great immigrants. I know people at our church. I can think of a few. And a lot of the people who immigrated here legally and assimilated to our culture are great. They're patriotic. They love Jesus, and they are as American as you get. Yeah, they got a funny accent. They say some funny things sometimes. I like that.
So,
But what I'm seeing right now is that our system is broken, and that ideal biblical standard of immigration, like what ancient Israel used to have, which, by the way, spoiler alert, guys, we are not ancient Israel. We do not.
what?
Well,
Just kidding.
ancient Israel. This is a point from Mike Winger. I listened to a Mike Winger video. Ancient Israel was a very specific and special, set apart nation, right? They had standards and rules that only they had. And we are not expected to be ancient Israel, right? It's just that's not the expectation. We can borrow some things from that standard because there's good biblical standards there, but a lot of that is very specific for the time, right? You can't read the entire Bible and say all of this right now for me. Some of that stuff was specific to those people. And I think if you look into the New Testament, you get some more relevant information for us in our current day and age. But even if we did use their standard of immigration, I would like that. But our system right now is broken, and to allow immigration, in my mind, even most legal immigration is just kind of, we should be bailing out the ship right now. And what we're really doing is bailing more water into the ship.
I'd agree.
We're drilling extra holes in the boat.
Fix this current system and then allow immigration again.
You're absolutely right, Jacob, and the Winger video that you shared us was really good.
And I think as Christians, it is our duty to have a country where we have a good and just immigration system, because first of all, we're treating our immigrants here very poorly. We're not treating them with respect. We are putting them in poor conditions. I know I sound like a liberal right now. We are treating them poorly.
I wasn't going to say it.
It is a shame the way they are treated. Honestly, the living conditions, the wages, a lot of it is just bad. And also, we are doing a disservice to people who have legitimate claims of asylum and that legitimately need to immigrate here for religious reasons, religious persecution, or people who could actually add something to our society because they are motivated and they are ready to assimilate. Like, imagine if we had this locked down. Imagine then if we could go say, oh, this Christian population in Africa is being murdered, slaughtered, and we could bring them in. We could protect them. They could assimilate here. Or this Christian population in South Africa is being persecuted.
To me, that's the ideal.
I want
bringing
that.
in Christians who are being persecuted and slaughtered and saying our country is open to you. To me, that is the prime candidates for people to come over
Should the
here.
government be doing that, or should churches be responsible for paying and helping those travel expenses?
I'm just saying the country shouldn't be locked to people like
Yeah.
that.
I think
agree.
I think the church, if we could go back to a good and a right and good standard, it would be the church that would be. I think personally, I think all of the like welfare systems should come from the community and from the church.
Okay, I wanted
should
to
not
get-
be from the federal
I
government.
wanted to get to that briefly because you mentioned the Mike Winger video, which was really good, and
Yeah.
people could go find that. Just
Yeah.
it was a good video to watch. He goes through a lot of the Old Testament passages about Old Testament Israel and tries to draw points from them and say it's not one-to-one with us today, but there are principles you can look at. And I wanted to give one of those that he mentioned, which was Leviticus 23:22. Which says, "And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap your field right up to its edge, nor shall you gather the gleanings after your harvest. You shall leave them for the poor and for the sojourner. I am the Lord your God." And what the point he made on that was really good was they didn't give the people the stuff. Like our modern welfare state is we're giving you money. We're giving it to you direct. They left it for the people to work and earn. And it was hard. And it was the edges of the fields, but they weren't going to starve, right? And I don't know if there's an equivalent to that in the modern world, but where it's like if people have to do nothing and they just get free stuff, that's addicting. Yeah. And you can do that, and people will apply in different states for welfare benefits, and they just are making money by doing nothing all day. Well, a lot of money,
And
even.
I would argue doing that for people is not compassionate and it's not
not.
loving. The only time,
But it's also exacerbating the problem with the immigration system, because if it's free here and you know it's free, well, I mean,
yeah,
It's actually theft.
It's theft.
It's
It is.
breaking the commandment that says thou shalt not steal, except for if you steal from people if you don't have too much money.
and a lot of these cultures, stealing is actually just like,
That's
this
how
is
they
another
justify
thing,
it.
Barry. A lot of these cultures, stealing is not really that frowned upon. Like the Somalian culture, they are full of theft. So it's not really surprising when they come over here and they're stealing from our government and from us. I mean, the thing is, you can't put your kids through, education is going to cost you an arm and a leg. A house is going to cost you an arm and a leg. I mean, it's very difficult, right? And when you're providing that stuff for free to a people group they're not from here, you're just supplying that stuff for them. Well, it's no wonder the people that are living here and having to pay for it all are struggling.
and that does go back to the verse you brought up earlier, or I don't know who brought it up, the one about taking care of your
I
household.
think
and
we did in 1 Timothy.
that goes back to that. Like, if we're doing that, we are neglecting. We are doing something bad in the sense that we are enabling people who are on this program, and then we're also committing another evil by neglecting our own people. And it's just like, it's like a double bad. Two wrongs do not make a right in this situation.
All right. So before we conclude or anything like that, I wanted to try to take it practical. So there are, I think, 1.2 million green card holders that are over here. And our policy is a net zero migration policy. We've closed the border, to my understanding, and we are not really allowing pretty much anybody in, to my knowledge. Would you change that? What would you change? What would be your policy prescription? You over there, Jacob.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think that is exactly where we need to be right now. I hinted earlier that I do not agree with Trump's immigration policy because I don't think he is deporting enough people, and he's not doing it quick enough.
I agree with that. I think there is a lot of people that need to be deported.
Yeah, I think we need to strive to deport all illegal immigrants.
Yes.
I think we need to reevaluate most legal immigrants.
I would agree with that because, I mean, if you're waving a foreign flag in our country and you're saying that's your home, I mean, gosh, I mean, you can't do that in this country.
We pledge allegiance to the United States. I mean, that's the basic idea you should be doing.
Yeah, we need to reevaluate current immigrants
should be-
and people, even people who, naturalized citizens, whatever. We need to evaluate this. Like we were talking about earlier, which we kind of glossed over and we forgot to mention it. Those recent attacks.
The country, like, why is it that after we attack Iran, we're worried about sleeper cells in our country, right? That just shows you we have an immigration and assimilation problem here.
So, we had the Austin, Texas bar shooting where a Senegalese Muslim naturalized citizen killed 3 people. We had the Michigan Israel synagogue attack where another naturalized citizen from Lebanon, another Muslim, rammed his vehicle into a synagogue.
Was that Michigan?
Yeah, that was
Michigan?
that was in Michigan. Rammed his vehicle into a synagogue. Thank goodness he didn't kill anybody, and there were people there who responded quickly and put him down. And then there was another one at the Old Dominion University. Sadly, some people did die there. I think it was maybe one person died, but that was another naturalized citizen from Sierra Leone who was also a Muslim and a former ISIS affiliated person. And then there was also the bombing attack in New York, which was failed. It was a failed bombing, thankfully. But we had people throw a real deal bomb, not just some like firework. It was actual explosives with nails in a crowd of people.
This should be the Time magazine cover of the year because of how insane it was. If it's the one I'm thinking of, where he jumped over a liberal who had a loud phone, like a megaphone, who was saying, immigrants aren't here to harm you. They're good people. And this terrorist threw a bomb over this guy's back. It should be the Time magazine cover of the year.
The caveat for them is that they were the children of naturalized citizens. So that's why I'm saying, like, we need to look into who is here.
We have to examine it. Another policy prescription I would say is we should not have dual citizenship for anyone who's in our government.
Nope.
No one should be a dual citizen. Absolutely not.
We
have 19, I think, people in government who are dual citizens. How crazy is that? I believe. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how many it is. I remember that number. I do stats off the top of my head sometimes. So you at home can check me, but
dual
it's a lot. Or
citizenship,
Barry can check me right now.
Dual citizenship, having allegiance to two masters. You're serving two countries.
I don't even care if it's an ally.
Ooh, get Ted Cruz as a
not.
Canadian dual citizenship.
Yep,
That's
get him out
too
of here.
much, man.
Deport him.
Should not be in government,
Deport him.
or you have to renounce that citizenship.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But
That's not good.
yeah, that's not a good look. But ultimately, and I sound like a really mean guy, a guy who's not loving. I'm not empathetic. But my ultimate goal, if all these things were able to come to fruition and we were able to get all this done, my ultimate goal is that we would be able to accept immigrants who really need it.
And who would be great here.
And that, I think, would be amazing. I would love to live in a country where we can bring in people who want to be Americans, who would be proud to be American, who want to be a part of the culture. We're Christians.
Some
Honestly,
people
we
who
need more
fled
Christians.
communism are those people truly.
Yeah.
Like they fled communist Russia, back in the day, and they're the happiest people alive to be here.
My grandma came from Cuba. She came over here when she was like 8 years old. And she became a citizen. I was at the courthouse when she got her citizenship finally. And you have to take these things on a case by case basis. You cannot, mass migration is not feasible. And it's just like a vector for invasion, basically.
We need to figure out how our own population can get back to a subsisting birth rate of 2 per family at minimum.
Kyle, I've got to break it to you, man. I know how to do it.
How do you do it?
Well,
oh boy. Don't. Oh gosh. Just stop. You know what you started? Let me just go ahead and stop you right there. Why don't you answer the original question?
Barry's about to start.
Well, he wants to learn how to make children.
How many green card holders are you supportive of?
Yeah.
And what should our immigration policy be, Barry, you little joker
Kyle,
over
when
there?
a man and a woman
Oh
love
my
each other
gosh. Don't
very
give me the
much.
birds and the bees
I
talk.
can teach you, Kyle. I mean,
Oh, stop it. I'm following my good Christian principles over here, just so you guys are aware.
what was the question?
The question was, what would you do immigration-wise? Would you keep it at net zero immigration right now, and why? And how do you feel about green card holders and people who are here on work permits?
As long as the government is a plunder government that's a welfare state that steals from people, and it's like this. I would say no immigration whatsoever.
Yeah, I think we're not fixing that right now. But
Yeah,
we need
so clearly none. Green card workers, probably case by case. But that's tough. I mean, if you had to pick one or the other, I think I would pick none. If you had to pick none or all, I'd say none.
I do think there's limited cases where like green card work is acceptable, but I don't think we should be treating them like slaves.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Like we should not. Like if we have like day laborers coming across the border from Mexico to work in farm fields right across the border and then they go back home, which there's a lot of people who do that. We can't treat them like slaves. We can't pay them pennies on the dollar and, we disregard labor laws and safety regulations just because they're brown and they're from a different country. Because that to me is evil and not Christian.
I never know how these conversations are going to go before we get in the room and start talking about it. It's actually kind of hilarious. Our resident liberal, Jacob. No, I'm kidding.
Dude, sometimes, sometimes people could talk to me first 5 minutes. They'll think, oh, this guy's a liberal. Then they'll talk to me a little bit more and they'll say, oh, no, he's not.
He's too understanding.
There's actually people who think that I'm liberal as well, who will talk to me about liberal things.
I think Kyle thinks you're liberal right now.
Kyle
I mean, I'm pretty hardcore on some of these things, but I agree with what you guys are saying. Like, we want to be compassionate. The problem is compassionate isn't free. You don't, and free at the expense of your own children, free at the expense of your own people. I mean, there are priorities of love. You are with your wife, you stay with your wife. You don't love your neighbor's wife the same way you love your wife.
You should not.
You should not.
Yes, you should not.
And you should be providing for your own household, your own community, your own nation. And we need to just take care of these things. I mean, yeah, I think that we don't have a balanced budget right now. We're going trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars in debt.
I thought my debt was bad, man.
And we're still shipping money overseas. So we have to right the ship economically to some degree. And
that another little point that I forgot to bring up. We didn't even cover the possibility we kind of covered it. The existence of sleeper cells.
We hinted at it.
But the amount of foreign governments that are not friendly to us, that have people implanted in our population that are a phone call away or a WhatsApp message away from committing some kind of atrocity and killing people. And also cartel activity, right? When we are not tough on immigration, when we do not take this seriously, when we just allow millions of people to exist in this country without our knowledge, there are consequences. And sometimes those consequences are really real. And sometimes that's enough for us to wake up, and sometimes it's not. But I think we are at a point in our country, especially in light of the recent war, where we really need to wake up, because we've already seen it, and I think it's very likely that we'll see it again. These policies that some people view as sympathetic and loving are suicidal.
There's been like 5 airports that have completely grounded all flights in the last 2 weeks.
Including
like Kansas City.
KCI, yeah. There was a bomb threat.
Someone on a flight to Florida that yelled Allah Akbar basically and said, I have a bomb, I'm going to take this plane out. And they had to ground it, and they removed him with SWAT team, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, and what we know about this is there hasn't been any bombs officially, but I'm sure there's been things going on behind the scenes that the FBI has stopped. And
well, TSA only stops 9 out of 10 bombs. So
really?
Just so you know, yes.
Is that true?
Yeah, TSA is really bad at actually catching like bombs and guns and drugs and stuff. When they're tested, it's like 9 out of 10 they miss.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's just false security. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail, but
now we're all really freaked out. Jeez.
Well, we weren't trusting.
I don't want to freak everyone out. Don't worry about it. But you might want to drive next time you go on a vacation.
Well, leaving next week.
I think the last point I would make that we haven't, because we get to the end of these conversations and, we always are like, I wish we'd covered X, Y, or Z. I will say there is quite the divide gender-wise on this topic between men and women. Women, by and large, are a lot more pro-immigration than men are. I think that men do need to step up and try to lead in this space. And it's not because it's not because of any of the reasons that people would say. I just think that we need some leadership. And unfortunately, we've had some bad leadership from pastors that I look up to, and people who they won't even talk about this because it's awkward and it's hard to talk about, right? We even had a little bit of disagreement here tonight. We don't all think exactly the same on this, but I think we're all somewhat agreed that John Piper's tweet was not the most helpful tweet of all time.
Also, husbands should lead their wives in these things, and fathers should lead their children their daughters in these ideas.
Yeah, we need some kind of level of guidance and shepherding in the church. And I don't know that we're the greatest help in that, but hopefully if you're listening to this, you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, this is where they got it right. This is where I think they got it wrong. Or maybe there's things we've missed. And
hopefully you say about Barry, he got everything right.
Yeah, that's probably what they're saying. I mean, after I listened to the podcast back, I just always agree with Barry tacitly at the end. So I think the other things we referenced were the Mike Winger video. Do you remember the title on that one? Might be good for people to check out if they want more biblical references, especially from the Old Testament, that were kind of useful.
Let me find that video real quick. I know.
Then Barry, you shared the one that was a Charlie Kirk video, and I got the title here. It's Charlie Kirk exposes flawed Bible argument on immigration. Is the title of it on YouTube. And I thought that one was a pretty good one, where there's a strong man case from the other side, and Charlie did a nice job responding to it. So if you want stuff on this topic, that would be good.
Can we link it in the show notes?
Oh, we might be able to.
Yeah,
actually,
we could probably also
Jacob,
link what the Bible says about immigration, 10 questions with Mike Winger, episode 35.
Yeah. So if you want to do some more investigation on this on your own and kind of get into it, it's not a topic that you'll often hear talked about really in the church, because it is hard to talk through. And so we want to try to provide a little bit of context and help to that discussion. So any final thoughts, Jacob, Barry, Jacob?
Just on the topic of women.
Yes.
Having different opinions. I would just say, remember Laken Riley.
Yes. Murdered by an illegal immigrant.
Yeah. So that's all I got to say about that.
And all the missing children that came across the border that, we found some of them under this most recent administration, thank God. But I mean, there's a lot of that's happening.
And women should, to some extent, realize that you're prone to emotion a little bit, and, lean on your father or your
I'm so
pastor.
Glad you said it, not me, Barry.
Lean
thank
on your
God
father
for Barry.
Or your pastor.
He's married. He
your
can say it.
husband and these things, and talk with them about this.
Yeah.
Because also men, sometimes it's nice to have an emotional side of things too, that we can miss.
That's
There's
true.
a good side to both.
True.
You're not wrong 100%. You're just mostly wrong, but
99%.
It's good to have a little. It's good to have a little caring and emotion in you.
you got to have a little bit of heresy in every discussion just to kind of keep it interesting. That's my personal, maybe heterodox.
Heterodoxy.
Beliefs. You're not heresy. We'll go heterodox though.
Next week we're going to talk about the Theotokos.
Oh yeah, the Theotokos. The God.
Exciting. Yeah.
Just kidding. We're not going to do that.
We've got all sorts of things, all sorts of things in the pipeline. You never know what Reform or Die is going to talk about, but yeah.
Maybe Pelagianism.
Ooh, that'd be exciting. That's a good one. Any other final thoughts?
Nope.
Just reform or die.
Reform or Die. I just remind everyone how much this nation was formed in a Christian and even Reformed environment, and it's something you should go look up even more. There's a great Charlie Kirk reference on that as well, just how incredibly Christian this country was, and even as far back as close back as the 1960s, how Christian it was even then. So something to dwell on, and we pray for the restoration of Christ more and more in this country and everyone's hearts and in the nation. That's really our paramount hope in all of this, and so everything else comes second to that. It's been Reform or Die. Catch you in the next one.